We are live. Fuck, Jesus. We are live. And what about the news? The big news. Let's see if we can get some people on first. It is I didn't mean to go live right now. I wasn't expecting to go live. Let's just double check that we are live. Yes, we are live because there's 8 people now online. So the big news is what about Celtic? We've had a fantastic day. Not only about the stock exchange. We'll get onto the transfer business in a minute. The big transfer news tonight is obviously Dyson Myra has signed a new 4-year contract extension. Tell me in the comments who's all in the house. What about that? What Celtic have had a fantastic day. They also had an announcement today. Bumper profits and dividends. Financial results are expected to be higher than normal. Yo, Jamie is in the house. So that's fantastic news for Celtic. Obviously, they put out the statement through the stock exchange today that financial results are expecting to be higher than normal come the end of the year. Bumper profits and bumper dividends at Celtic. How about that? On the very day that they put out and tell us all that the man that is Dyson Myra has signed a new 4-year contract at Celtic. Celtic confirmed the afternoon that the Japanese forward Dyson Myra has signed a new contract that will keep him at the club until June 2027. He only joined Celtic in January 2022. You've got to admit this. For Celtic to get him tied up on an extension to the contract, it's a great... I said in this morning's video, I said one of the first things that Brendan Rodgers did when he came in the first time around was he put a lot of the players that were on half-decent contracts, he extended their contracts and put them on better money. Getting Kyogo tied up to 2027, getting Dyson Myra tied up to 2027 not only protects our assets as a club and makes sure that if anyone comes in for them in the next year or two, we get the highest possible price for our players. It's not going to be about the fact that Dyson only had another 2 years on his contract, and maybe Ange Postecoglou was thinking he's going to come in next year and get him at a stitch, get him at a really good, cheap price. No, not any longer. The fact that Dyson has signed the new 4-year deal is quite something. We were promised there'd be 2 deals this week. Don't tell me that's the only deals that Celtic are going to come out with. It is, what even day of the week it is? It is Thursday. Will they come out with a big announcement tomorrow? I think getting Kyogo was a massive one for Nicholson and for Brendan. Getting Dyson also, it's been brilliant news. Brilliant day for us Celtic fans. So tell me your thoughts in the comment. Patricia, welcome to the channel. Brilliant news, says Patricia. Stevie Chandler says, that's brilliant news. And Jamie is also online. He says, yo. Where do we go from here? Let's see if there's any other news about it just now. Obviously, Sky Sports have just released it this minute. Celtic wire Dyson Myra signs a new 4-year contract. Dyson signs a new contract at Celtic. Length deal. A player said Brendan Rodgers is delighted. Brendan Rodgers absolutely delighted that he has signed a new deal. And Brendan Rodgers has said that is of extreme quality to Celtic. It's all good news. It's just every day. The speedy attacker follows Kyogo Furuhashi extending his stay with the champions. He was a key player last year, like it or not. A lot of people say that he just runs his Celtic in the ground. A lot of people say that, that he should maybe be sold. But he has put pen to paper and is extending his stay at Celtic. So we'll get more comments on the channel. Bloody dog hair in my mouth. Get more comments in. We'll see what other media outlets are saying about it. Brendan Rodgers says that he's committed to a 4-year contract. Dyson Myra signs a new term contract. Brendan Rodgers hails the exceptional winger. He hails the exceptional winger. Tell me your thoughts in the comments. There's 72 people online, 76. Make sure if you haven't, after this video, after this live, if you check out the video that I did do and released it about the same time as Celtic released information about Dyson, make sure that you go and watch the video that was all about Joe Hart, and that was some interview by Joe Hart this afternoon. Get some of the comments from that video actually. I'm not even no. Go read them yourself. Yeah, Dyson signed a new. Yep, funny enough, I know about that now. Frankie Boyle says cricket. I'm not even going to read that live on air. Yes, the big one. Jim says Hatate tomorrow would be the bomb of the news. That would be the most explosive news of the week. If Hatate signs, it's not going to be if. If the other ones are signing long-term deals, I think this is Brendan putting his own stamp on the team, if you like, making sure that the players feel loved, for one. It's been interesting to see the kind of comments after Matt O'Reilly says that he's glad that it's a bit more open. And then when you see Brendan on the training pitch and Brendan says he's high-fiving, he's talking to all the players, it is a new start and it's exciting times. Hail, says Paul from Glasgow. Jamie back in and says, at the end of last season, I watched Myler do things he never did before. Really impressed me. Harry Kewell inspired 100%. How important has it been that Celtic retain the services of Harry Kewell? I think it's been magnificent what he's helped do in the background. More good news. Glad Myra has signed, says Anthony. The Green Machine, he says, don't take seats for Ibrox. Yes, exactly. We shouldn't take any seats for Ibrox unless we feel 100% that our staff can feel safe and the fans that go to the game. So, I mean, if they're going to do that, they're going to lose out on seats because you're going to have to take at least away about 3 or 4 rows at least in between the fans, and the fact that there isn't any fans. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that video. That's this morning's video. Here to talk about the big breaking news is the fact that Dyson has signed the new contract. And like you said, all we need now is Rio. His name is Rio, and he's signing a new 4-year contract. Celtic, come on, do it. Agreed. Take no. Yeah, and if people are unsafe at the ground, we'll move on. I'm not really want to talk about it. Hail, Rod from Brecon. Brecon, a lovely, lovely part of the country. That is that. Dyson new deal is a great piece of business. It's a fantastic piece of business. We need to sign someone. We have signed 2 players already, although they are sort of more development type players. They are younger players. But the fact that we've re-signed, we've got these players on longer deals. These are the players that you've got to remember that we're all a bit worried about leaving and going this summer. And I'm positive that there's a clause in Ange Postecoglou's contract that says he is not allowed to come in. If he leaves in a certain timescale, he's not allowed to come in for our players. And I think he signed that right at the beginning. Rio Hatate tomorrow is the finish off the treble. A lot of the talk about the treble with the players, and one of the first things that obviously the big keeper was asked this afternoon was about Ange Postecoglou. And it's like, come on, that's old news. Move on. We're all looking forward. And I think the press conference today was a bit, it's the Scottish media again. They're talking about Postecoglou, who's left weeks ago now. Brendan Rodgers has got his feet under the table. He's back at work. Let's get to work. And then they ask us about Sevco. Anyway, let's move on. Patricia Foy says, I think Brendan Rodgers is the kind of manager that thinks a lot of his players, hence signing Kyogo and Myra. He did this, Patricia, the last time, the first time he came into Celtic. He gave a lot of players, he gave them boosted contracts and bigger wages so that they felt loved. And it's all part of this team bonding thing that he has. We're all in it together. And that's one of the, when you look at what players have said, well, what one player said yesterday, is the fact that, and they even asked John Kennedy. They asked John Kennedy what it was like having Brendan Rodgers back on the training pitch because Ange wasn't on the training pitch all the time. Ange Postecoglou himself admitted that he puts a lot of pressure on John Kennedy to take the training sessions. So it's good to be a Tim, says Paul. It's fantastic news. It's good to see the players happy. It's good to see a lot of the players smiling. It's good to see the camaraderie in training. They're totally buzzing for this. And the manager's right. The manager was right in sitting them all down the first training session and saying, look, you've done absolutely amazing last year. You did. And I'm so proud of what you've achieved as a group. last season. But, that's last season. It's in the history books. We've got to start again. This is the new beginning. You've got teams out there that are at the exact same place as us right now, and they're buzzing for the season ahead, and they want to try and knock us off our block. There's teams out there that are like, let's see if we can bring them down a peg or two. And we've got to keep our chin up. We've got to start again as a club, as a fan base, and we've got to push this team on. We've got to push this team on every damn week, home and away. The fans have to get right behind the manager and right behind the team and make sure that we make more noise than ever, because we are on the road again. This is just the start. We're going for 3 in a row, right? We're going for 3 in a row this year. If you had sat in 2020 when we lost the 10 in a row, if you had sat that year, would you have accepted that 2 years later we would have done the double and we'd be getting ready to start the season going for a 3 in a row again? Think about that. Just think about that. Anyway, let's move on to the comments. Have you heard of Breakin'? Have you? Oh, the comments. Can't wait to see Ange lose his mind with Levy. Oh dear. Rio CCC Cameron Carter Matt would merit a few. Yes, they would. I think they are players that we need to get tied up on longer deals. I think Matt O'Reilly is highly impressed with the way that Brendan Rodgers has came in and made all the players feel. And Maida's pace and work rate is second to none. Plus, Kyo has made him a better player all round. It will be interesting to see the difference in this team, especially when we go into Europe. That'll be really interesting. The Huns nightmare just keeps getting worse. Yeah, I've not even looked at any of their media actually. So I know that they have signed a few players, and they've signed somebody for 5 million. They've signed, and the only reason I know they signed the keeper is because Joe Hart was asked about it. So the fact that we finished last season at a position of real big strength, and it was always the case that we needed to maintain this group of players. We really needed to maintain this group of players and bring in a few additional players that would help the players achieve their goals for this coming season. Help us get that little bit of success in Europe. Let's get back to the comments. Daniel says, hi from South Africa. Another great day. The league is in the bag. Hail, hail. We can't say that before a ball's kicked, can we? So it is all going for 3 in a row. We are going for 3 in a row. Let's start talking it up. I would hate to be a Rangers fan this summer. It's like a Nightmare on Elm Street experience for them right now. Gerard, hail from rainy Loch Lomond. Yeah, yes, a family member sent a video about an hour ago, and it was absolutely teeming down back in Scotland. Big announcement announced tomorrow for Kieran Tierney. I'm not so sure about Kieran Tierney, but there is another ex-Celtic player that has been rumoured that could come back to Celtic, and I think there's more chance of him rather than Kieran Tierney. So we'll just keep an eye on that just now. I'm not going to start talking about it, but you've probably read the media and you'll see that there is an ex-Celtic player that is under freedom of contract that we could bring back. Great news, Baz. I can't wait to see who comes in to build this team for the Champions League, says Gara. Yep, Gara, that's absolutely fantastic news. The club is just going so far in the right direction. Johnson for player of the season. Tell you, nothing would surprise me more if Mickey Johnson came back and he did reasonably well in Portugal. I think that whole going away to Portugal would have settled him down as a player. Brendan liked him as a player. Bringing him back, getting him worked. He might not play every single game, but you never know. Could be player of the season. Good shout. David says, great news. We still need a left back desperately. Whoa, do we still need one desperately? Desperately, that's a bit strong words. I love that we're not being complacent. We continue to push. Hail, hail, says Lockheed Army. This is very true. Here's a controversial comment. Maida's not good enough. Is sorry, says Street Shitter. Did I just say Street Shitter live on? I'm not getting demonetized for that. Shitter. Anyway, Maida's not good enough. Controversial. Tell us your comments. Get more comments coming in, and we'll get the comments up live this afternoon. It's Thursday evening, and Celtic have re-signed. Well, They've not re-signed. They've given Kaizen a 4-year extension. It's a big, big deal. I don't care what you say. It's massive news. It keeps the continuity within the club. A good old Joe Venglos saying at his time as manager, it's all about continuity. And if you remember Joe Venglos at the time, he probably said continuity on a weekly basis. Jim Corn, let me see that one. Next one up. Rodgers, when he gets the Japanese boys to sign a new deal, he's calling them beautiful human beings in Japanese. Let's get some of the banners up. Let me see. That one. There we go. On Celtic Fans View Live. Celtic Fans View. Let me see. The manager says. What did the manager say? So have your say in the comments. Have your say in the comments and get live on air. Come on, there's 190 people on the live. I'm almost staying on for another 5 minutes or so. I was actually out when the news broke, as you can guess, because I just put the video out beforehand. If you haven't watched the video that I put out just before this live went on, make sure you watch that. And it's all about Joe Hart. And the other breaking news of a goalkeeper that was leaving Celtic today. Yes, Connor Hazard will be leaving Celtic. And it's crazy to think about the amount of years he's been at Celtic. And he's one player that I actually wish we're brought through a bit more. And even, I would even go to say I would rather maybe have lost Bain, let him move. But then again, we would have to keep Bain purely for the homegrown talent that we need for going into Europe. So let's get some more comments. Dyson will run about all day and needs work on his finishing. I can see that I can see where you're coming from with that, and I think they will work on that. There'll be things that they want to improve players on. And you've got to remember, these guys are all about Kaizen. Kaizen's all about continuous improvement in Japanese. And if you don't know what that is, if you don't believe me, go and Google Kaizen. It's a thing that they used in their life, as they say. It's all about continuous improvement. Anyway, he pops up and gets into places no one sees. His work rate is magic, sink or swim. So let's see these guys. Yep, Ali Jones. Williams says, who's next for the big contract extension? I'm not so sure. I need to look and see who's all due for renewal in the next couple of years. These are guys that were probably going to be targets of other clubs that want to come in and buy them. I think getting them on that extra year, getting them in for 4 years, make sure that the ball is in our court. The ball is all in our court when it comes to now selling the players in a few years' time. If we had kept them on the contracts that we're on, the likes of Ange Postecoglou could have came in next year, and with them only having a year left on their contract, the value that these players hold wouldn't be as significant. I think it's a great piece of business for the club. The club is all about protecting its assets. It's a great piece of business by Nicholson once again, making sure that the financial stability of the club, hence the reason that the club put out to the stock exchange this morning about the financial results are expecting to be higher than normal. Now, this is going from after the COVID year. And then you've got to remember, we didn't sell any players of any significance last season. Jenny, really? Oh, man, my dog's just dropped one. It stinks. Jesus. Anyway, and there's also bumper profits and bumper dividends. Where are you mutt? She always runs away when she farts. Anyway, that's Rican. Get the doors open. Let's get back to the comments. Wait a minute to open that bloody window. My God, that's better. Everything seems to be going in the right direction. Keogh and Dyson. What next? I'm just bursting to see this team getting it louder next season. He'll help them on the hoops, says Stuart Ramsey. CCV and Rio next. Yeah, we definitely need to get Rio Hatate. We need to get Rio Hatate tied up in a long-term deal. He is one that will, I mean, I seen a tweet going out last night. Some Manchester United fan on Twitter with about 20,000 followers said, get the deal done, and they had him in a mock-up Man United shirt. I think this is one deal that we really need to get. We really need to get him tied up as well, get him tied up to 2027, so that it means that if anyone likes a Man United comes in for him, it will be big, big money. I think a lot of the teams might wait until they see how the players play in the Champions League this season. getting them in last season and being coming in from Japan and then having their first season in the Champions League, I think there's a lot of teams were maybe a bit wary in coming to buy some of these Celtic players, and they maybe thought about it. And now they're going into the second season, they might go, right, these players can cut it if they can do things at the higher level in the Champions League and not just be whipping boys and finish at the bottom of the group. I think that's what will get the big bucks coming through the door. Next comment is Ryan F. He says, I think Maida would perform better as a second centre forward next to Kyogo. I don't think he is technically for a winger. He did play in that position before at his former club. It'll be interesting to see what the Brendan Rodgers does to this squad, because there will obviously be some kind of formation changes. And you know what Brendan's like? He does like to talk to the players, and he gets the best out of players by doing that. A player will play in any position that he's asked at a club. You know, if you're a centre mid and you're asked to play a left back or right back, you'll play it. You'll play out of position just to play. You know, and sometimes players are asked, you know, what's your favourite position? Let's try it out in training. And if he catches the eye of the manager, you never know. He might be up there just behind Kyogo. That would be fantastic. And then where would Big O play in that formation? That's the thing. Man United can't sign a birthday card, never mind a player at the moment. They're still in the middle of a transfer. A takeover bid. Anyway, Michael says, good news, Hatate. Next, please. It is fantastic news. Let's just jump on to the little news channel here and see. Celtic want to add key positions in the coming weeks, since we've not strengthened since last summer. And then Joe Hart. Again, if you haven't checked out the Joe Hart video that I did, make sure you check that out after this live. Rough at the top. Baz, it is rough. It's just fantastic being a Celtic fan right now. Right, the missus is sitting in the pub. It is absolutely scorching here. It's still about 30 degrees. I'm going out. I'm absolutely knackered because I've been working all day. The dog needs a walk. And then Maida plays striker for Japan. So I think I can see Rodgers making him a striker and putting Young. Yeah, if we bring in another winger, like you just said there, if we bring in Yang and put him on the wing and Maida does play up front, that will give us some amount of pace. It would be interesting to see they two play together. And I don't think that it's something that we'll do, but I've spoken about many times. Could you imagine the pace that Kyogo has running off with people, and then you've got Dyson running through the middle as well? So, itchy semi. What a time to be a Celtic fan. Anyway, let's get back to the comments. Michael Lee says, great show. Let's get some more comments in. There are 230 people on the live. I'm not sure how many thumbs up or that we do have. Let's see if we could check on here. There is not a lot of other news kicking about. Obviously, the big news is the fact that we have signed Dyson again. Joe Hart is absolutely ecstatic. Again, if you haven't checked that video, check it out after this live. Where do we go from here? What players do we bring in? Where do we strengthen? It is all about the fact that we need to bring in a little bit more quality. We don't need a lot of depth. We've got the depth there already. It's going to be interesting to see the standard of the player that we bring in. Do we bring in someone? I mean, there's not really a striker that we need to bring in. If we do play with Dyson as a striker, it's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. It's going to be really interesting the next couple of weeks to see what happens at Celtic. Bring in a keeper. Do we really need a keeper? We've got 3 keepers. There is a keeper just left the building. Connor Hazard is leaving to go down south, and it's expected that he'll go for at least 6 figures. So with the young keeper going, he's been at the club for a long time. Like I said, Bain's probably in there so that we keep the homegrown quota. That was probably the whole thinking behind Bain. You don't let Siegrist go, and then you've got Hart, who's going to be your number 1 keeper this year, although they'll fight it out this season. We need a couple of Nicholson for Pope. Yes, comment of the day: Nicholson for Pope. Somebody do us a thing with Nicholson dressed up as a Pope and put it on my Twitter, and I'll get it up on the channel. Next one, we need a couple of centre backs. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Stevie Welsh, whether Welsh gets to leave the building, whether Welsh will be sold. I know that he's at that stage of his career. He does need time on the park. You then have to bring in the Scales factor, Liam Scales. yeah. Aye, you are not kidding, Stuart. Your dog's farts just on cricket. And where is the little Ginny? She's now lying on her back like this, lying sleeping on the sofa. Not anyway, right? Back to the main talking point. A couple of centre backs. We do need someone. I mean, we've got the Japanese boy at the back, Kobayashi, but a lot of people want that thingy with him. So yeah, do we bring someone in at that position? It's hard to say. Right, if we don't get any more comments, that's it. I am done and dusted. 26 minutes in. The missus is sitting drinking Vino Tinto de Verano. What's she drinking? Tinto de Verano. I didn't know why she. I don't even like it. So she can drink all she wants, as they say. Lorna, Welsh isn't good enough, in my opinion, says Jim. It's hard to say. Well, he isn't really, is he? You can try and butter up any ways you can, but the chances that he did have is good, but I understand totally what you're saying, Jim. He's not there to take us up to that next level. I think it would have been good for him if he had went out on loan. I think Celtic should have let him go out on loan, but there was teams wanting to buy him last year, and I think that was the problem. We needed that cover in the centre back area, and Welsh was there, but he really never got used at all. Lorna, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for cheering me up. Great news. Have a fab night, Baz. Uncle Stuart. Hello. Barry Hamilton says, I think Kevin Van Been would have been a good signing for us for a year or two. Do you think so? It's okay. See, I'm all for bringing players for the SPFL that have the chance to take us there. I think the last one that we got for the league would have been Taylor. And before that, the last one player to come through and make any impact at all would have been Lee Griffiths. What happened to him? How your career can nosedive. Sorry for him. Paul Cunningham says, hail, bro. And then we'll put the last comment up. Looking forward to see if Brendan brings on Bernabe. I think that's one thing that I think he will do. Brendan loves to make players better. He did it at Liverpool. You know, when he was at Liverpool, look at Suarez. He made Suarez into an absolute killer of a machine. Never mind his attitude, but they sold Suarez for how much? He made Suarez an even better player. Brendan likes to have a youthful squad that he can make the younger players better. He likes to have a squad with that little bit of experience. And it was interesting to hear Joe Hart say today that Brendan wants this group to gel together and achieve things together. He wants the older guys to achieve everything that they can in their career, and he wants the younger guys to improve, and he wants the older guys to help the younger guys to improve. That is your legacy at Celtic. You know, your legacy isn't about coming in for 2 seasons and swanning off in the distance. If you want to talk about legacy, you need to talk about the likes of Jamesy Forrest. And Joe Hart was also asked about that, and the fact that Jamesy Forrest has an up-and-coming testimonial. You've got to think about what Jamesy Forrest has achieved in the game. Never mind what he's achieved. And it's like Bruno used to say, you can move for Celtic, you can go down south and you can chase the riches. But at the end of the day, when you retire, you can turn around, you can look at your bank balance on your phone and you can go, yeah, I'm all right. Or you could turn around and you can have a wee cabinet like that behind me that's got no medals or trophies on it at all. But you can turn around and look at that and you can look at your medals. And those medals bring back memories, and those medals are of achievement. And I think that's what James Forrest has done throughout his career. The fact that he's spent his whole life, he's living the dream that every single Celtic fan out there wished they had lived. He got signed by the Celtic youth team. He's worked his way through the ranks. He's improved. He made to the first team. He's scored an unbelievable amount of goals and assists for Celtic. And it's only rightly so that he gets a testimonial and he's honoured at Celtic. And that, when he looks back on his career, he will then become a Celtic legend. He will then be coming to your Celtic supporters club in 5 years' time, and you'll be sitting talking about the time you done the quadruple treble, the time that you done Sevco about 8 times in a row. These are things that players love to think about later when their career is all ended. And on that note, I'm going to end this video. Love Jota's great view player. Jots came out with a statement for the fans, though. I think Jota, when you look at Jota, and this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. When we look at the Jota Instagram, and he hasn't come out with any statement with regards to Celtic, but when you look back on the 5th of June, he put up a picture of him at the end of dinner, the end of season dance. And it did say the class of 22-23 have successfully graduated. Been an absolute pleasure. Thanks to everyone. And a white love heart. To me, that was your goodbye. As a player, he knew then that he was leaving. He knew then that his agent was looking for another club. He's not going to come on and say anything else. He's moved on. As far as he's concerned, that was Jota's goodbye. And it's a shame that he bowed out that way. As a kind of, you would think that he would say a bit more, because there was hundreds of comments. And I mean, one of them, where the F do you think you're going? Better not be. There was lots of people saying this better not be your goodbye. But unfortunately, I think Jota knew, and that was only a couple of days after the cup final. And I think that's what's probably a bit more hurtful to us as fans. But we move on. It's like Joe Hart said today, this season it's someone else's chance to become a legend, someone else's chance for their name to be sung around the glorious, glorious ground that is Celtic Park. And on those European nights when you put the ball in the back of the net and the stadium goes absolutely wild calling your name, it won't be Jota, it'll be someone else. Ryan F., love to see Forrest getting more of a shout this season. He's a fantastic player with a lot to offer. Pope for Nicholson. Jota can see his contract and come back. The last one goes to Vincent O'Brien. Great show. And hail the Celtic. Thank you, every single one, for watching this live. It's been absolutely fantastic news again today. The financial results are in. Celtic are going to make even more money this season. They're going to make even more profit. This is before we got any money from Jota. This is why we had a 30 million war kitty this summer. Brendan Rodgers, I want Brendan Rodgers back, and I want a bag of cash. Brendan Rodgers came back, and he came back with a big bag of cash, and he's going to spend it all. So on that note, have a great night, Celtic fans all around the world. Last one goes to Jim Conlon. Can't wait for the season to start. Yippee-ki-yay, mother!